Ontario Dirt Show podcast with Jonathon Howe, Travis Cunningham, episode 45, brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products and Oshweekend Speedway. Also, got to give our friends at the Maryville Go-Kart Club a shout out as well. And we're going to hear a little bit more about their upcoming anniversary season, the 30th anniversary season, a little later on in the show. But right now, we got to start with our local 45s, Travis. Who comes to mind for number 45 for you? And once again, I am totally unprepared for this. I'm always better at this when I'm actually in the season because I'm used to seeing the cars. And now I'm like, who's in what this year?
I got two. One's local, Nicky Sheridan in the 45 360. My boy,
take him.
And another one of my boys. This one's not local, but it is Southern Ontario-ish. It's number 45, Slammin' Sammy Hazelwood. He was one of my dad's customers on the pavement late model side, but back in the day, he was a hell of a late model driver at Brighton Speedway, and he's a Brighton Speedway Hall of Famer. So yeah, Sammy Hazelwood, 45.
Well, I appreciate you leaving me tonight's guest, Curtis Gartly, who's going to be on for episode 45 and drives number 45. So good to have him on for this one. And I'm trying to think if there was any other 45s.
Hard to not mention the Cobra, Chuck Ebing with 45.
Yep. I was going to go
a lot.
One start at Merrittville this past season in the Hoosier Stocks. And I don't think he's super local to us, but we got to go with number 45, Barry Watson.
There you go.
That's a stumper. That I feel like not as many people would have got that one because he's not one of our regulars. I think he only ran one race with us at Merrittville, and I believe that is it. I think 45 is one of those more often than not unused numbers throughout the other divisions. Except for sprint cars, seems like there's a lot of 45s in the sprint car world.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah,
I thought of right off the hop.
Yep. So, we're going to go with those as our 45s, and we should probably start the show with teeing up some fun this weekend because we've got some racing at Orange County Fair Speedway this week with the Short Track Super Series. So, going to be a good weekend of racing. Good to get race cars back on the racetrack, and our own Matt Williamson's going to be down there representing for us as well.
He definitely will. Hard Clay Open. They have this one every year at Orange County. It's one of the first ones in the Northeast area usually. And this year it's the Short Track Super Series Elite Series opener. So all those races this year are $12,000 to win or more, $1,000 to start. So last year they all paid $25,000 to win or more. So this year Deo's going with more of a little bit lower to win strategy and $1,000 to start, which is I think double. I think last year they were all $500 to start. So trying to gain more cars going that way. A little bit more to start, a little less off the hop. But he still got some big pain races like the 50,000 at Fulton or Fonda.
Yep.
And I think they're going back to Port Royal and stuff and all that. So yeah, they got lots of big money on that series. It's a little shorter.
And pretty cool, too, that it's also the 104th anniversary season of Orange County Fair Speedway, which is wild to say. Like, I think, 72 years at Merrittville, Canada's oldest dirt track, is old. But 104, that's pretty nuts that Orange County is still one of those tracks that is a very, very important place for racing in the Northeast, in Middletown, New York. So you mentioned the purse going up in the Short Track Super Series. We should probably mention too purse increase at the ESS as well.
Yeah, Short Track Super Series is more of like a rearrangement, but yeah, ESS. I think last year they ran for $250 to start. This year, bumping it back up to $300 to start, which is where Dean Reynolds had it back when he ran ESS, and I think it's just for their New York shows or something. There's still going to be a couple that are $250 to start, but most of their races are in New York, so $300 to start at all those.
And from your perspective as a driver, obviously everybody wants to finish up in the money and making good money, but that extra $50 in starting money, that really adds up over the course of the season for you guys, right?
Yeah, especially when you can start getting into the bigger ones, like the 500 start for super small teams. That's such a big deal. Tire or so, and some stuff paid for right off the bat. Yep. And even the normal $250 to start at Oshweekend, that's what a drum of fuel is for us. So
yeah,
that's how I look at it. You get a drum of fuel. That's cheap though.
I know. It's
Race
an
gas is so much more.
It's
It's
an
insane.
expensive hobby, man. I tell you, I was talking about I was talking with Jeff Riley from
Lifestyle.
Vancicle and Pet Value and Lundy's Lane Pet Value this week, and we were talking about how my fiance Kyra and I are thinking about going go karting, and I think to start we're going to do an arrive and drive program. It's like $75 a week to race, and they cover all the expenses, the car and stuff. And he's like, "Oh man, $75 a week? You can't even run a kart program at Maryville for cheaper than that. So good for you. Go for that." And I was like, "Well, a goal is to get to Merrittville, but we'll see. We'll see." We should also probably get into. I mean, we gotta talk Delaware because Matt Shepard had himself an evening back on this was Friday night, March 31st. Gets the big
Yep.
win at the Jake Marine Memorial Feature. Pretty cool. Millman's Napa Modifieds. I'm always fascinated when there's other modified racing in the world that you don't really hear about, right? Like I feel like we hear about New York enough. Sometimes I think we hear about Pennsylvania and whatever, but I don't think of Delaware as this racing state. But looking through the field, there's plenty of
Because it
guys from
isn't.
Delaware, right? Well, it's so
So
small too,
there
right?
is. There's only two racetracks in all of Delaware. They're both dirt. One's Delaware International and one's Georgetown International.
Yeah,
Brett Dale runs them both, short track Super Series guy. And yeah, last Friday they kicked. I just said that Orange County was the first race in a while. I lied because last Friday was a good modified race when Matt Shepard, he was one of the heavier hitters there. He was there, Mahaney was there, Guler.
yeah,
There's a lot of hitters, and then there's lots of tough locals there as well.
yeah.
A couple of them, like that you might
Jordan
not
Watson.
recognize, but yeah, I recognize that one though. I knew he could wheel,
Yeah,
and but anyway, yeah, Shepard. I forget how his heat went, but anyway, I think he redrew, or I think he won it, and then he ended up redrawn kind of like eighth
seventh.
or so,
There you go.
seventh. Yeah, and it took him a while to get through the field, and because Guler was definitely had the cushion hammered down, and he wasn't making very many mistakes, and Shepard did end up catching him, and that hounded him for the last 10, 15 laps and just trying everything he made to make a mistake. And Guler held on the whole time, not faltering. Faltered a couple times, but Shepard wasn't able to capitalize. But then, sure enough, last lap, typical Matt Shepard luck and fashion. It's just because he can put so much pressure on getting guys' heads. It's got to be like that. But yeah, made Guler make a mistake just a little enough in 1 and 2 and took the $8,500 and made Mike Guler very sad. Although he still ran a good race, but
Good start for him to this season so far. So
shocker.
yeah, right. He's going to be
Super Matt.
tough to beat. Super Matt already back at it. Something that kind of caught headlines for most dirt racing fans throughout the week was the story with Lernerville and the camera policy, which you sent me originally. And you're like, we got to talk about this on the podcast. But even from the time that you sent me a message first, I'm pretty sure we changed something. The story changed quite a bit. I think we had
Yeah.
first it was like, oh wow, this is a real dink move by this racetrack. Oh wait, no, it's fake news. And then the story kind of got confirmed. But if you haven't heard, Lernerville, they don't want you taking photos or videos at their racetrack unless you're an authorized camera person. So kind of kind of brutal for both fans and drivers, because a point you brought up to me, Travis, is the idea that a lot of drivers want their laps filmed so that they can go back and study what they're doing, what some of the competition is doing as well. And that's uh, just a weird one. This was definitely a head scratcher.
I can see why they're doing this. Clearly, they've had some trouble with people streaming or something, but that is too extreme for me. Like, I know Clinton Jeffrey be on my say the same thing because he's all about giving it away for free at Ash Weekend
Yeah.
and how it brings people in and stuff. So to not let people take a couple videos at your track, and if you get caught, you're booted. Like, OMG, like no warning. I'm sure they got to get. I don't know, but like you said, like I know the Turners, Marianne, like always films everybody. And I used to watch her videos. I'm not sure if she puts them up anymore, but she used to put them up all the time, and I would watch her videos every week just because, especially if I knew I was running around one of them, because I think it was just Jamie back then. Yeah, but yeah, if I was running around him, I'd make sure to watch just to see what I was going on, because a lot of times, like the live stream now or back in the day, like the DVDs we used to buy
Hmm.
to try to watch what we have going on. Uh, Sometimes the camera's not on you, so
Yeah.
it's a way better idea to have someone film you the whole time, so that way you know exactly every lap what your car's doing.
Yeah, and I just think from like a fan perspective, like how many times you want somebody to sell you the sport. Well, like the the image of sitting in the stands and watching, a sprint car or whatever whiz by, and you can actually see the speed, because I think that's something that, the average racing fan who maybe watches Formula One but doesn't really know about their local dirt track or their local short track scene or whatever, they don't realize that, there's the same elements of speed, the same feelings of speed that can be felt, being in the grandstands at Maryville or at whatever your local track is. So,
Or a 410 sprint car at Lernerville,
yeah, exactly. Right. Like,
which is their weekly draw in
yeah.
big blocks.
So
Like,
why would you not
hello.
want that posted up? Why would you not want a fan pumping up some social media stuff for them? It doesn't, post it on Instagram and post a reel or something cool like that. You never know, right? I personally don't get it. And I don't like the drama that came out of this, because you had,
Yeah, explain the whole thing.
so
How it,
up on
yeah.
Facebook originally, there was a post from Lernerville, just about, well, don't show up with any kind of camera equipment or whatever else, right? Like, just
Or you got to be
you
authorized.
got to be
And there
authorized.
was
You
like,
can't film, you can't whatever. And
and it
then the
was like
best
a
part was,
employee, right? You got to
yes,
say like it was an employee that posted it
yeah, an
or something.
employee posted it on their social
The
media
initial
feed,
post this week.
was not authorized to do that. But the best part is that original post actually had an image lifted and stamped with a little Google Images thing. So
Yeah,
they ripped that image off for a post telling people we don't want anybody ripping off images and content by filming
yeah,
your own stuff, right? So, like, right off the hop, it's pretty comical. Uh, and then, the track ends up backtracking a little bit and saying, "Hey, he was not this
yeah,
employee, whoever it was, they were not actually authorized to say this and make this post." And, because everybody was freaking out, like, what, this is a dumb thing, this is a slap in the face to fans, whatever. So they're trying to backtrack, save face, and they say, this policy is going to be whatever. But then somebody posted a photo on from the grounds of Lernerville, where they've had a sign up that says no video recording once in the venue. Please discontinue any use of any recording devices, including cell phones. Anyone caught using a device to record events inside this venue will be ejected immediately without warning and no refund. Again, I totally get the angle of you don't want somebody streaming from their seat, Facebook Live or whatever. But I don't think that's what the average race fan is doing. Especially since GeForce TV has happened, I've never seen, we all have tons of people on social media who film stuff from the racetracks and make posts and share stuff and whatever. But since GeForce has come around, I haven't seen one person at any of our local tracks go on Facebook Live and film a race or anything like that.
yeah. Because now we don't have to because even
Exactly.
GeForce lights coming out Tuesday or Wednesday whenever it goes up,
Yeah.
and so you eventually get to see it anyway. Now
Exactly.
we're spoiled.
Yeah, we are spoiled up here. The GeForce TV is great. All the options that we have for streaming racing in the States is great. This is silly. This is silly. Lernerville just needs to worry about putting on good racing, and let the fans take care of their stuff. I think,
Nailed it.
let the fans do the promotion, let the fans do the work, and then everybody will come and have a good time. So we'll see how that changes once they get really going in their season. Maybe halfway through the season, they'll make some policy changes or something like that. But something else we should get to is the Eagle chassis fallout. So break this one down for me.
Yeah, that was just crazy. Speedway Motors, which is like a big race parts distributor, been around forever. Speedy Bill started it. He's since passed away a few years ago, I'm pretty sure. And anyway, so they owned Eagle Chassis and Cheney and Hypercraft or something, one of the midget chassis or Stallard or something. Anyway, there was a bunch of Eagle and Cheney for sure. Eagle being the main one, which Larson runs, Rico runs. They're the two main guys on Eagles. And I think Paulie was on Eagles as well. I think he switched to JR1 now because of it. But yeah, so Larson and Rico are the two main ones. So now, like, they just closed up shop. Apparently, like, the employee posted on Twitter that at least my welds made it to the very last day or whatever. And like, literally the day before they were working, thought everything was good to go. And the very next day, told shutting them down. And we're dropping Eagle Chassis and those other three companies that worked under there. And yeah, those Eagle chassis is no more. Larson and Rico got to find some new ones,
So
or don't wreck the ones they got.
yeah, right.
I think Jordan Poirier was on those too. I'm not sure what he's
Do you
got.
think
He
there's
might have.
do you think
I
there's
know
like
Steve Poirier
rivals who are
used to run
super
them.
stoked about it, or do you think this is just bad overall for racing in general? Like,
Eh, no. A lot of sprint cars are pretty similar, and yeah, they're pretty close. So it's not like those guys aren't gonna be able to win in something else. So it could be a little bit of an adjustment.
yeah,
And if they're getting them built custom or something that they like, I'm sure they can find a new chassis builder to figure that out.
yep.
But yeah, it still sucks when what you've been rolling with. No
Something
more.
that doesn't suck is the BRP iRacing series, which is we're
Mm-mm.
in for one heck of a fight to the finish. I've had a blast the last couple weeks. You should give it a shout out. We didn't talk about it on last week's show, but our boy Jamie Porter, the Pistol, ends up getting a win a couple weeks back, and
About
that
time.
about time, right? He's been running so well all year long. Had himself up there in the top 5 in points, and then decided, well, it's time for a vacation. So that was it's not official, but it looks like he's going to hang on to probably a top 5 spot in points. But I don't know for sure if he's going to be able to do that. He might even stay up there because Matt DeRitter is the main rival in the championship series, and he ends up getting a win last week and moving up the clock, so or up the standings. So looking over the points, though, the real
At
battle's at the
Eldora.
top. Yeah, Eldora was a blast. That track in that game actually is pretty fun. I thought it was a great
Yeah.
show, and
When we were going green, Ryan Susi goes, best track of the season and lowest car count. And
yeah,
it sucked. It is true.
it
Next
is
time we
true.
run an Eldora, put a little earlier, beef.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did have one Eldora start right earlier in the year, but we
No, I don't think we did.
no, we had it earlier because Beagle won it the first time around. I'm pretty
Are
sure. Or
you
no,
sure?
I'm thinking maybe I'm thinking of Charlotte. Hang on, let me know. Now I got to look at the schedule.
I
Now you're
guarantee
testing
it
me.
wasn't Eldora.
No, hang
Beagle
on.
won Weedsport was his first one, and I forget the other one Beagle won. But I can promise you we didn't run Eldora twice.
Are you sure?
1,000%.
I could have sworn we did Eldora
Because we were
once.
literally talking about it in the Discord.
No, you're right. Wow. I messed that up. It's Charlotte I'm thinking of that he won at earlier in the
Yeah.
year. That's right.
Yeah, and then we're going there this week. That is where you're
Yes.
messed up.
Yes.
Season finale. So that's
Yes.
what you're thinking of. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of. But yeah, Charlotte was earlier in the year, and that's the one that Beagle won. So he's probably feeling pretty good about the fact that he's only got to make up 8 points on Cody Higby. 8 points
Gonna
is the
still
difference
be tough
into the
sledding.
final race. And
Yeah.
Beagle made up, I think, 4. I think he was 12 back going into the race on Monday, ends up making up another 4, uh, finishing ahead of Higby. Also got, I believe, fastest lap and the heat win, if I'm not mistaken. But he definitely racked in the bonus points, or maybe he didn't get the heat win, but he actually finished ahead of Higby and gained a couple points there.
Yeah,
So,
he finished second. Higby
yep.
was third.
Yep. So that was
But
one
they're both
bonus
always
point.
up there, so
Yep. So, looking at the points, it's real tight at the top. It's going to be one heck of an iRacing showdown on Monday night for the finale of BRP iRacing Series. And looking forward to the future of BRP TV because we don't know what's going to happen just yet. What series are going to come on board? We are opening it up that if somebody wants to run an iRacing series of any kind, doesn't have to necessarily be dirt, doesn't have to necessarily be modified. We are the broadcast crew for you. So check us out on social media and watch for some clips that I've been cutting up to go up on the social feeds as well pretty soon. With that said, I want to quickly go into a draft before we get to our guest, Curtis Gartley. It's the Bristol Dirt Race this week. Travis Miller called me out for talking a little too much NASCAR, but this is the perfect crossover. Like, if we're going to talk about it at all any week, this is the week to talk about it. But I figured the
I
topic,
agree.
Travis, should be I'm a $2 million sponsor. I've gone to Colleague Racing to their third car and said, hey, I want you to run this guy this week. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to pick 4 names from any world of motorsports, any world of dirt racing. Got to be a dirt guy who's never started a cup race, and we're gonna throw him in. Who do you want first pick? You want me to go first? No, you take first pick. I'll give you first pick. Let's go back and forth. See if we can come up with some names here. The Maryville Kart Club turns 30 this season, and they can't wait to celebrate with you. Join them Tuesday nights to see the next generation of local heroes race their way up the ranks. Matt Williamson, Cody McPherson, and Dalton Slacker are just a few names who have graduated from the Maryville Kart Club ranks to become winners and champions of the sport. The season will begin May 9th with multiple practices through the end of April and May scheduled, including driver school April 23rd. You can support the club by purchasing a 30th anniversary t-shirt or hoodie, both of which are available now for pre-order. For more information and kart club schedule, visit MaryvilleSpeedway.com.
Well, this guy has already had some NASCAR truck experience, I believe, and maybe even some Busch if I can. I know he's had a little NASCAR, Parker for sure, and but he's never done the Cup stuff on Bristol Dirt, and that is the big cat, Brad Sweet.
Oh, no! I literally was just thinking about Brad, and you
Well, sniped
stole
him.
him. Oh, wow. Okay, well, I'm going to have to reverse strategy here. I'm going to take Matt Shepard.
Solid.
Right? I figure, I feel like the big is it fair to say the big blocks of any dirt car would have the most translation to the current cup car? Is it big block or is it maybe a light like a late model?
Definitely no. A late model's so jacked up, but
Right? That's what
a
I'm thinking.
modified's pretty close too. Like modified almost copies a late model
Right?
stance around the track now. Maybe just a little bit more buried on the right rear.
Yeah.
But yeah. So no, there's really nothing that compares to that because
Yeah.
it's a pavement car with no suspension travel under, which just ain't it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's nothing that compares to that.
Well, either way, I think Matt is I think Super Matt could get it done. So I'm picking him with my first pick. So on to you, or do you want to snake draft this? I'll snake draft it. No, because I'll give you a chance. We'll just go back and forth. No,
Oh no, because I know more dirt guys than you, so you can do whatever you want.
okay, fine. Well, in that case,
Are we snaking it?
I'll snake it. Give me Matt Williamson.
What
We'll
does
go back
Carl
to
and
back.
Soper? What does Soper and Brown do? Do they snake it or no?
I think Soper and Brown snake it. So let's go snake draft.
Then we're snaking it because this is where you got the idea. Your
Yeah.
97.7's coming through.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, everybody loves a good draft, right? So
Yeah, and it's fun.
all right,
Okay,
I'm
you're up.
going Matt's back to back. Give me Matt Shepard and then Matt Williamson, just to get some Canadian content in there and give us one of our local guys in a cup car. Why not? Somebody put Matt Williamson
I
in a
like
cup
it.
car,
Buzzed you, someone? No.
right?
Anyway. Okay, so now I get two in a row.
Yes.
So this guy is one of my favorite late model guys. Kind of controversial. I think he's cool because him and his dad build their own chassis.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the smooth operator, Bobby Pierce.
Ooh, okay.
And then snake it.
Yeah. Now it's your pick again.
Got to be current driver.
Yes. Well.
Right? Yeah. Got to be racing now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's do it that way.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go David Gravel.
You I'm literally on his Wikipedia right now checking to see what he started in.
I can read your mind.
Oh,
He's already done a couple truck starts.
Oh,
So that's why he's perfect too.
No.
COVID kind of ruined his NASCAR careers.
Yeah, that's true. 100% that got him.
He had like a bunch of rides lined up and then only got to do one or two of them.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of rides and then COVID smashed it.
Oh, no. Wow. Okay, I've got to go back to the drawing board here.
Oh, there's still lots in the World of Outlaw Sprints, or a couple you could think of.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple World of Outlaws guys I've got my eyes on.
And there's even a Super Dirt Car Series guy with some ARCA start for sure.
There is a super late model guy though who is probably past his prime, but I think just for the story and having this guy in the field, I think we got to take him. So give me Scott Bloomquist.
Love it. He already did the trucks, but I love the Bloomer.
Yeah. I think in the Cup Series, just to mix it up, have him up there. I think a lot of people would be pretty stoked about seeing that. And now, I've got to go somebody else here. Oh no, who do I want to go with? I think I gotta go. I think I gotta go World of Outlaws guy, because Yeah, I think I got to go World of Outlaws because I've already kind of covered everything. I got a couple modified guys. Now I got a late model guy. I should have a sprint car guy in there. So who do I want to take from? Oh, this is tough. There's a local guy I'm thinking about, and I don't know. You know what? I'm just going to do it just because I want to have a local heavy team. Give me Westbrook. Give me D-Dubs.
D-Dubs has run dirt already in NASCAR.
Yeah, in the trucks, right? So why not maybe makes the jump to Cup? Maybe we find some sponsorship money. You know, it's my team, it's my sponsor. I'm buying the seat at Colleague Racing. So yeah, give me Scott or give me Bloomquist and then
Scott
Westbrook
Bloomquist.
as my
Yeah.
my back to back. So you've got one pick left here in the draft.
Man, we were gonna do 5 originally, so I'm just gonna maybe pick 2.
Okay, if you want to go 5, I'll go 5 with you. I'll get one more.
Okay. So the other one, he's already done some ARCA and all that. Won a race, won K&N, won NASCAR modifieds, races in the Super Dirt Car Series, runs a Bicknell chassis. Mad Max McLaughlin.
Ooh.
Not to mention his dad was his dad was my favorite Busch driver back in the day.
All right.
No question about it. I have his little diecast.
Okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that one.
And one more for me, and then 2 for you. Or how many have you picked already?
Yeah, you get one more, and then it's one more for me, and then we're done. That's our 10.
Okay.
Because I was gonna do 8 originally, but you want to go 5, so we'll go 5.
And we're going 5. And then, because I kind of wanted to pick a wingless sprint car guy, because we've kind of touched everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, just because he's pretty good at running the bottom, and when it gets slick and stuff, and he's really good in it. I was gonna say, actually, no, I got a better one.
Okay.
I'm going with this guy's the king of the dirt miles and stuff, and he's run the Silver Crown cars on dirt, and he's been the champion a million times. I'm going Cody Swanson.
Okay. All right, Cody Swanson.
Yep. I was gonna say Brady Bacon, but
ooh, I'm trying to decide whether I want to go World of Outlaws again. I think I do. I just don't know which guy I want to pick. I think I'm gonna take. I think I would put. You know what? Give me, because of his Kyle Larson connection, give me Carson Macedo.
love it.
Right? I think Macedo in a cup car could be interesting. Why not?
Agreed.
Right?
He definitely gets someone's tire marks on the side.
Yeah.
Fact.
Right? I think he's got the right attitude. I think he's got the right attitude for it. Yeah. I think he could definitely have some success if we're drafting a list of guys to go and run this Bristol Dirt Race in the Cup Series from other dirt series. So interesting to see how Stewie does this weekend. Jonathon Davenport doing the double. Looking forward to it, even though I, for one, think it's time to retire the dirt race from Cup Series. I think it's enough. It was a fun.
I don't think it's time to retire it. I think it's time to stop doing it at Bristol.
Okay, so all right, fine. Well, one last question on
do it at a dirt track.
Which dirt track do you pick?
Eldora.
Yeah?
I don't know if there's enough seating for a cup race, though.
What about Charlotte?
Bring it in, Tony. Charlotte, yeah, there's 14,000 there. You could line the backstretch. Right? I love Charlotte. Something like that. Yeah, I love Charlotte.
And you know what? It'd be one extra date in the Charlotte area where you don't have to have the drivers and teams traveling that far from home. Why not? You could even run that on
Why don't you work for NASCAR? Why haven't they thought of that?
You saw my fixes.
It's like right there.
You saw my fixes. I posted on Twitter. Somebody was asking how to fix NASCAR in 3 seconds. And
I saw that. That was good.
I had a good little start. I had more I could pile on, but I don't feel like tweeting 40,000 characters.
But yeah, NASCAR, why isn't the dirt race at Charlotte? Why do you got to kill one of our best pavement tracks in Bristol? And literally my favorite track to watch other than Homestead throughout the years.
Yeah, you got this new package that you're running on short tracks where it's supposed to, be less downforce and all this sort of stuff. Let's see Bristol twice. Yep. Come on. Anyways.
And then keep the dirt race, but at Charlotte.
Yes, I'm here for it.
I love it.
I'm here for it. With all that said, it's been a blast so far, but it's going to get more fun because we're bringing on our guest, Curtis Gartly, going to join us now.
And he's a fun guy.
Yeah, he's got some things to say, and he's going to be a character here. Yep. So Curtis Gartly coming up on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Ohsweken Speedway, Southern Ontario's home for Friday night excitement. For over 25 years, Ohsweken Speedway has promoted and played host to sprint car racing with a new season of family-friendly events on the horizon and set to begin May 19th. Catch our own Travis Cunningham as he races weekly in the 360 division each Friday night in pursuit of a season-long championship. The Friday night lineups are rounded out by crate sprints, thunder stocks, and mini stock divisions as well. In addition to weekly racing, Ohsweken Speedway will also hold several marquee events for the Southern Ontario Sprints, the Action Sprint Tour in their West Series and National Series, as well as a visit from Canada's premier stock car series, the NASCAR Pinty Series, on August 14th and 15th for their only stop on dirt. Mark your calendars as the 3/8 mile dirt track located in Ohsweken, Ontario welcomes drivers from across the country and beyond for the 19th running of the Canadian Sprint Car Nationals, which is scheduled for September 16th. To keep up to date with the latest news from the track, be sure to find them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For track information on policies, admissions, directions, and more, be sure to visit ohswekenspeedway.ca. That's OHSWEKEN Speedway.ca. Ohsweken Speedway, your home for Friday night excitement. The Southern Ontario Dirt Show is brought to you by Bicknell Racing Products. The last 40 years plus have seen Bicknell Racing Products grow to be an industry leader for racers and enthusiasts alike. Their St. Catharines location is home to 20,000 square feet of manufacturing and retail space, with a second store in Niagara Falls, New York, and a dealer network that continues to grow day by day to serve Southern Ontario, Western New York, and beyond. Bicknell Racing Products distributes Hoosier tires for much of Eastern Canada, New York, and even parts of Pennsylvania. BRP has everything you could need to keep your car performing at its peak, with genuine parts from the manufacturer. They even have a technical support line committed to helping you with the most up-to-date information and feedback from racers and crew chiefs. Have you ever thought about a career in the automotive or racing industry? Now is your chance to take the leap with Bicknell Racing Products. They are looking for CNC machine operators, welders, and more to join their team this season. Please send all resumes to Dana Curving at BicknellRacingProducts.com. That's DANACURVIN at BicknellRacingProducts.com. For further information on Bicknell Racing Products and to find a dealer near you, visit BRP online at www.BicknellRacingProducts.com or on Facebook or at twitter.com/BicknellRacing. All right, and joining us now on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast, it's Curtis Gartly, driving the 45 sprint car around these parts. And Curtis, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, absolutely wonderful. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you back out in the season this year, and looking forward to a big 2023. But before we get into 2023 and your season last year, just talk to us about your start in racing and how things got going for you
As a fan or as a driver?
as a driver. But yeah, start with a fan because usually that's how
Start
it
with
starts
fan.
first, right?
Okay, yeah, my dad and Carl Porter, like Holly's dad, raced late models in the 80s and 70s before I was born. And yeah, I was an avid fan of asphalt. And then my dad got out of that, I think it was 89. And then I started driving micro sprints in 1992. And we did that until we started with the 360 in 2014.
Yeah, so you just did like a thing on Facebook with all your micro sprints and stuff, and like I honestly had never heard of any of those tracks until like I started racing at Ohsweken in a cup. I was like a Merrittville karts kid and a flat kart kid, so like I didn't know any about any of those cage kart things that you guys all grew up on. So talk about driving those. Talk about all the tracks you raced at that are out more like the kind of like the Buxton way or whatever, right? And then
Mostly around London
yeah,
is where we raced. Um, yeah, so they were kind of, if you could drive one of those things, they were kind of evil. They were like a go-kart on steroids with a 440 snowmobile motor on it. So we raced, the biggest track we raced on regularly would have been Grand Bend. It was asphalt, and you'd get up to like 75 miles an hour there
oof,
with your butt an
Jeez.
inch and a half off the ground. And but the two tracks that we raced at the most would have been Wilton Grove, so it was just outside of Dorchester. It was actually my favorite track. They really did a wonderful job. That was the track that I actually ran the kids class at later in my career too. And then Wonderland was the home of the micro sprints, which was just outside of Glanworth, which is just south of London. And it was a really good show there. On a regular night, there was 50 cars trying for 20 starting spots. So it was very, very competitive and didn't cost a lot of money. And there were some chassis manufacturers that started building stuff locally. You could just go buy everything you needed if you chose. My dad and I built a lot of our stuff. Um, and then Springfield was another track we went at to once in a while. It was out in the bush. You got ate by mosquitoes on Sunday morning when you went there. But that was the major ones that we raced at. We had a lot of fun. We did it for, I don't know, 20 whatever years. So it was a blast.
Which tracks are still running? Like Wonderland's still running, right? Or no?
No, so the gentleman that owned the facility, he passed away
That sucks.
in 2014, I think. And then they kept racing for a couple years afterwards. Then his wife was kind of like, all right, that's enough of that. And they tried to build a track out at Sparta at the drag strip. And then I think those guys really realized how much work went into to having it. And it just kind of fell apart. And there's a pile of those cars sitting around in people's garages doing nothing. Wilton Grove, it closed probably 2001, 2000. No, sorry, 2003 would have been the year that they didn't race there. So, but we used to race there a lot, just because family wise, like we'd race on a Tuesday, and Wonderland was a Friday. So if I raced on a Tuesday, I could go do race car maintenance on a Saturday, and my wife didn't get too mad at me. So we did that a lot. So yeah, so it was fun.
Nice.
And then making the transition to the sprint car and the micro sprint, was there ever an idea to go asphalt racing, or was that always the plan to end up on dirt for you?
I really liked the TQ midgets. I think just the part of for us was the travel kills you, right?
Yeah.
And to race asphalt, you need tires all the time, and I'm sure Travis can
Mm.
vouch for this. When he walks by our car, we have some pretty old junk on our car a lot of times for tires. Like we use 3 right rears a year. That's it. And to be an asphalt racer, we'd need a lot of help to be able to do that. But when we came back from asphalt and got racing dirt again, it was just we just had a blast on dirt, right? It was just fun to hawk it in the corner and slide around sideways, and motors weren't such a big thing. You could be more of a driver rather than having good sneakers on all the time. So yeah.
Yeah.
So then talk about the decision to buy the sprint car for the first time, because you went right to 360 your crate now, and I'm pretty sure you bought John Rigling's car, right? So tell us that whole story.
Yeah, that's correct. So that kind of my wife does not like racing at all. So when 1999, when she was pregnant with my oldest daughter, she came to the races and we won. We were in victory lane, and she leaned over to me. She said, "I've seen you win. I'm not coming again." And she's never been back to the races since. So it was kind of a shocker to me because my dad and I had kind of talked about it back and forth of possibly doing some bigger sprint car stuff. And we were camping, and my wife just said to me, "Are you still having fun racing micro sprints?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And she says, "You used to get really jacked up, and you're just not as excited when you go to the races." I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Like we win a fair bit, and we had a really good car, and some of the challenge wasn't there anymore." Um, and she said, "Well, maybe like, what do you think about this? Like, what are you thinking?" And I said, "Well, I'd love to get into a 360." Then, of course, the budget comes into it and everything. So I told her what I thought it would cost to get in and stuff, and she was like, "You should do that." And I was like, "What?" So so um, the next day, I called Bill Patrick and Kyle Patrick and kind of chatted with them to see what was around. And Bill said to me, "You need to talk to John Rigling because he's got stuff sitting there." So I got in touch with him, and I was actually planning on buying his spare car, and then we were going to put a motor together. So I went down and met John and looked at everything, and we made a deal on his Eagle. And when we were walking back to the other shed, he says, "What are you going to do for motor?" So I told him, and he says, "What do you think you'd have tied up in that motor?" So I told him my guess, and he kind of rubbed his chin and he says, "Tell you what, you give me that amount of money for my motor and the same amount of money for my other car that we just talked about, and I'll give you everything I own. So I basically bought a $40,000 motor for not a lot of money
Hmm.
and got 2 cars and had enough rolling gear for a 3rd car. And then I even found out afterwards when I got in touch with Gary Leach, because the motor was actually at his place, found out that I had basically, if I had another block, I could have another complete engine. So, and what was kind of funny about that is we talked about going crate racing, and it was kind of up in the air because remember they did that wingless
Yep.
testing and all this other, like the 358, and so we were kind of like, are they going to do it? Are they not? And then so we bought our stuff, and then later on that winter they announced they're going to go to crates, and we were like, oh, that's more my budget. But we had a blast with the 360, but way like guys were spending more money in a weekend than we spent in a year, right? So but we had a lot of had a lot of fun. I think the biggest thing for us is when the track started to get prepared drier, we were screwed, right? Like we just didn't have the shocks and the tires and the knowledge, right? Like I've learned a pile since getting into these cars, and we raced with suspension before, but it was always coilovers and everything's different. So, but yeah, I had a lot of fun with the 360s. I wish my big decision to get out of it had more to do with my time available with my dad not being around anymore. Um, but it just wasn't fun anymore. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to try this and see what happens. And I've had a blast, lots of fun.
Yeah, you
Yeah, you're
talk about
start.
having fun again. And
Yeah.
sorry, Travis. I was
Oh
just
no.
looking over last year's standings, and yeah, there were some great signs of growth from you, and securing a top five, ended up in the top 10, five of your nine features that you started. So just talk to us about what 2022 was like for you in the crate sprints at Oshweekend and everywhere else that you took that thing.
I think the bigger thing for me, we had a pretty good setup for the smaller tracks. The big struggle for me was when we went to Oswego and had more wing speed, and I knew kind of what to expect, but not because it's different. The motor difference is so much drastically changed
Yeah.
from the 360 to the crate. And what was happening was I just had to figure out how to make the car decent and not smash the inside wall, right? And I actually had an opportunity. I talked to a couple different guys and got an opportunity to talk to a wonderful car owner from the States, and he gave me some setup tips. And I thought at the end of the year we were really good on the dry track. Um, but yeah, just finding what was the best and everything else. I think the funny part was, is my brother said to me the one night, like, where's our budget for this? Is it close to what we were with the 360? And I was like, yeah. And he said, why don't we put tires on the car? And he looked over, and I had two new tires sitting on the floor in the shop, and I was like, I'm struggling to find what works in the car. Putting new rubber on isn't going to help me find a setup. And but I think, yeah, it's fun. It's a great group of guys to race with. Everybody is really respectful for what we're doing out there, and yeah, it's a fun class to run in and to progress and be better every night at Oshwegan. We didn't get to race a lot of places elsewhere just because of time availability, but when we did go to other places, we ran pretty decent. So it's good. It's fun.
So what are you gonna do this year? Just Osh weekend, or maybe a little action sprint tour, or what you gonna do?
Well, we actually lost our Dowler Carn sponsorship this year, which they put fuel in my tow vehicle.
Mm.
So, um, I think I think probably what'll happen is once we get the farming side of things done in the spring, usually what happens with me is I will hit Oswego and then go to a couple places else like close, like whether we go to Merrittville or something. I love Humberstone; it's my favorite track. Um, but we'll see what happens. We haven't sat down and figured out our schedule yet. My plan right now is to run Oswego. We'll probably run 15, 16 nights, something like that. Um, just because it's less cost to get there, right?
Yep.
And we can put more money into the car if we're not traveling all over the place burning up fuel. So that's kind of my plan. But we'll see. I'm the worst because I love racing, but if I'm a one man show. I'm the one that works on the car. I drive it there. I get in it. My brother pushes me around to the track, but he's a great guy, but he's not overly mechanical. So I get tired of it. I get sick of racing if I do it too much. So, and my darling wife would kill me if I was gone all the time. So it's just the reality
Yeah.
of life, right? So, yep.
Yeah, that's fair. Just talk about from your standpoint, then necessarily, not necessarily going to be following the tour, but the changes that are coming to the Action Sprint Tour and the idea of splitting up a schedule, east and west, and having these national series races. Uh, does it seem like amongst yourself and the other, crate sprint guys that your optimism is at an all time high for the Action Sprint Tour and for crate sprint racing in Southern Ontario?
Um, I think I think you'll probably find the teams that normally support the series will be the ones that always chase it. You know, your Nathan Ackland guys. Dykstra will probably be if he's racing crates, he'll go to it, right? And those guys will, but like moonlighters like me that come in once in a while, it doesn't really change any of the excitement level for me. Um, but it's actually been surprisingly quiet in our chat line about it. So I really don't know what other guys are thinking, if they're overly excited up to see that change. I think so, but nobody's talked about it. So it's until we get to see everybody at the track, you never really know, right? But yeah, I think for me, we'll just pick and choose what we go to, and you'll have your normal culprits that want to chase that points, right?
Yeah,
So.
for sure.
All right. I want you to talk about crewing for Carl a bit because my dad owned a car in Delaware for in 1982 or no 1983 and 84. Earl Ross drove it the first
Mhm.
year, and then Tom Walters the second year. And my mom's got pictures of Holly's dad. It's funny. I went back and looked now, and yes, sure enough, there's some in there. So talk about those days at Delaware and working on Carl's late model.
I was pretty little, but I didn't. I thought I was doing some stuff, right?
Yeah,
But
you've been around.
yeah, like
How
it
young
was
were you?
really neat. Oh shoot, I was born in '77, right?
Oh
So
yeah,
I was
okay,
like
yeah,
the best year that I remember would have been '85. That was the one that was, and Barry Shaxson drove for him at that time. That guy was amazing. He got every piece of, like every ounce out of that car every night. And but that year, like in talking with Carl, sorry, I might call him Mert by mistake, but talking with Carl afterwards, like I said, why did you guys run so good that year? And he said, well, we had a tire guy that gave us money for tires, and like they were really good. And I don't know if that came into my side of things where you try to get everything last cent out of everything, but he would go and buy used tires off of guys and left fronts and everything to try to get out there, and then he'd go and beat them, right? And but like the '85 was the one that I really remembered, and there was a lot of good racers that were racing then. Like Hanley wasn't around too terribly much at that time because, but like they had that fast series, so they were racing a bunch of guys in Michigan. So they'd race at Flat Rock, I think still at Mount Clemens, um, Flint, and Delaware, and a couple other. And Tracy Leslie was running, Dick Barker was running, like all those big guys
yeah.
that were running from Michigan. And it was just to me, and it was kind of funny when I heard your episode when you were talking, and they were like, I forget who was saying it, but they were, they like late models way better now. I'm the other way.
Yeah.
I like late models where there was a drastic difference in what guys had, and to see those, the Burberidges, and when they ran good, that was awesome. And that was Carl's team. Like they had a bunch of ragtag guys that like to drink a lot of beer and work on the car on Wednesdays, and then they went to the track and did everything they could with what they had, and that to me that was a blast, right? And to see what they could get out of that home built car, and run well, and have a lot of fun, right? So yeah,
And that's where your like racing love for racing started, right? Pretty much.
yeah. Basically, if we weren't at the track, we I never, which was weird. I never went to Flamborough. I was terribly scared of Flamborough because they either ran really well or destroyed everything.
Sounds about right.
Um, yeah, but we would go to Delaware a lot. We went to Flat Rock and Mount Clemens a lot. I don't remember going to Windsor. Um, but if we weren't at the track, we'd be listening to the races on the radio, right? Like it just and I would ride my bike. My parents lived in Nilestown. The car was in Dorchester, so it's like a 5-6 kilometer drive. Well, I'd ride my bike over there, and my parents wouldn't know where I was, and I'd be just sitting in the race car, pretending I was driving, right? And I just I loved it, and I never ever thought I'd have an opportunity to drive anything, right? And lo and behold, I was 15 years old, and my dad and I put together a car. And what's crazy about that is we raced for 3 years for $1,700.
Wow.
Yikes.
Yep, we had two motors too,
Amazing.
right? And what the one of the second last race we drove that car, we won the season-ending 100 lapper. We won't mention the fact that all the big guns broke and fell out of the race, but
Win's
I
a
won
win.
it by 6 inches.
Hey,
Wins a win.
Yep, that was my first
they
win.
don't ask
Yeah.
how, they
So
ask how many.
yeah, but we raced other than the Unicall, or sorry, the Ultra 94 Sunoco in the car. We had that, and that budget is still on the wall in my dad's shop of what we did for those 3 years, and it was like $1,752 for 3 years.
Wow.
So
Can't
yeah,
even barely do an
proud of
enduro
that.
car for that.
No, no, but it was an old Margay go kart that we got,
Caged it,
and
right?
Dad built a
Yeah.
cage, and yeah, it was fun. Had a lot of fun. So
That's pretty cool. Well, Curtis, we'll get you out of here on this one. And it's our classic question we ask all of our guests here. If you're gonna race one race car at one racetrack for the rest of your life, give me the combination of car and track. You can only pick one, but you can pick anything. It could be something you've driven in the past or something you've never had the chance to drive that you always wanted to.
I think it would be awesome to be able to drive a 360. I don't care what track it's at. I love Attica in Ohio.
Okay.
They're 410s, but we'll stay local at Ashwaubenon just because I'm too busy with my personal stuff to be able to go too far away. But to race a 360 at Ashwaubenon without a budget, to have a car owner that says just bring me back the steering wheel, that would be my dream.
That's a hell of a
Anybody
dream.
out
So
there?
because
That's a hell of a dream. Anybody out there with some deep pockets? Curtis Gartley is your guy.
yeah, put a 46-year-old driver in your car.
Hey,
So,
Yeah.
age is just a
but
number. You got tons of experience. That's more than a lot of people have. So that's great.
and I have a lot of fun too. So
Exactly.
Put her in victory
That's
lane this
awesome.
year. That'd be a good start.
Yeah, there you go.
You're
yeah,
getting there.
it's
Getting there.
it's yeah, it's kind of funny because Gary Leach was talking about our motor and stuff, and he was like, "We got to get you in victory lane." Honestly, guys, I don't care if I win or not. Right?
Yeah.
I just go out and have fun, and if I get to whip mud balls at people in the pits and have hot laps, I'm happy.
Nice.
So
That's a great attitude.
as long as I don't wreck stuff, because
Yes.
then I got to fix it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right?
Keep it as cheap as
So
possible and keep it keep all four corners on it, right? Awesome.
that's my goal every night. Yeah.
Awesome. Curtis Gartley on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.